Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm Old Who.
The only place in the world where one can relax entirely, you said. A spirit all of its own, you said. Like a wine, it has a bouquet, you said. Well, it's got a bouquet, all right. Doctor, it absolutely horrible.
And I'm Victoria Wheeler. I'm New Who.
It's Paris, Charlie. City of lights, city of life, city of love. Come to think of it, it does smell a bit.
And we are back in 8th Doctor Land, and we are not going to be doing Neverland, which would be the next in line. We are doing, we decided for some planning reasons, we're going to do the Further Adventures of Charlie. Oh, hold on, let me see. I'm reading this wrong. The name of the set, because I'm trying to do it from memory, which is stupid. Charlotte Pollard, The Further
Adventuress.
Episode 1, The Mummy Speaks. We're inserting this here because we need to cut things lined up in the right order to, with all the other doctors in this era, because we're running out of TV for some of them. A couple more, we're running out of TV. So we wanted to get everything lined up. So we decided to do this. I had listened to it before and loved it, so I was very adamant that we do it sooner than later, because I just enjoyed it. And this is for it's like the 20th anniversary of the creation of Charlie. And Alan Barnes is back. So I'm going to read a quick synopsis from the back of the package, because that's the only thing I have to read for a synopsis. And we'll be right back. The Mummy Speaks, Doctor Who, Charlotte Pollard, The Further Adventuress, Episode 1. Writer, Alan Barnes. Producer, Emma Haig. Director, Ken Bentley. Executive producers, Nicholas Briggs and Jason Haig Ellery. The Carnival de Paris, 1841. Amid the sideshow tents, the Doctor and Charlie discover something truly novel. An ancient Egyptian mummy that speaks, despite being dead for more than 4,000 years. But what the mummy has to say translates into terror for the TARDIS twosome and proclaims doom for the entire world. Well, that's it, folks. So I'm going to go first. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to have Alan Barnes back. I liked.
And he's the original creator.
Yes,
of Charlie.
he is. Yeah, he's the creator of Charlie Pollard. And I do remember that I enjoyed the ones that when you see his name on the tin, I've liked him. Storm Warning holds up. 20 years later, it's still amazing. So I really liked it. It was nice to have him back. It was nice to hear him on the interviews and saying some stuff like he was talking about. He never heard Charlie Pollard's being performed by Indy until he heard the trailer, because he wasn't at the recordings and stuff like that, and how she is the perfect one. And I miss Charlie. I miss new Charlie. It'd been a while. So it was great. I enjoyed it, and I liked the historical setting. It was a fun romp. I just finished re-listening to it this morning while I was getting ready for a work call and caffeinating. And it was so much fun. It was just so much fun.
It's just fun. I mean, and that's the thing.
It's just really fun.
Yeah, it's like a ripping yarn, right? Like but it's rooted in the idea of an adventure story, right? Like, and I think that's the whole idea behind Charlie. Is that she considered, like, she wanted to become an Edwardian adventuress. She is full of those early 20th century adventure stories, the Kipling and it might be a little early for Tarzan and things like that. But this has all of the elements of an adventure story, right? Like, you have a hero, you have a villain. The villain in this one, spoilers, is the corrupt police official.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't even know it at first, but you believe you have one villain who is a colonizer, right? A classic sort of, I've gone into the darkest whatever, right? Like where Paddington is from, right? Darkest Peru, and I've pulled and I've brought something out, something from the long past, something and it's supernatural, right? I mean, because you're up against the idea of Gothic, right? When you introduce something supernatural, but this stops being supernatural because it's Doctor Who and is instead alien. But you even get a gorilla, right? Like there's it's the best part of the adventure. Right?
Well, that's what I wanted. I was waiting to find out your take on Guy the gorilla.
Guy the gorilla in a cravat and a waistcoat, right? Like it's just. It's the fact that there are stories out there where the Eighth Doctor has traveled in time and space with a gorilla named Guy in a cravat is just.
I want a box.
It makes my heart happy. I know. I know. It just makes my heart happy, and that's the full effect of this story. It's not a great story. It doesn't advance anything. It's just a rip and yarn.
And it's meant to entertain you, make you laugh.
Exactly.
And they're great. It's so good. She's so good with the comedy. The fact that he's been traveling with the gorilla upsets her a little bit.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
As it would. It's like, oh no, you've got a new friend now, right? Like it's the best. She's just a tremendous character who is so clever on her feet, right? Like
God. She invents a taxi cab,
right? but there's some sort of there's a couple of different snafus in the TARDIS translator, and she plays that to her advantage.
Yeah.
She thinks of it, takes over from the Doctor because the Doctor's not getting anywhere. Mm-hmm. And she has realized that there's a solution to this. But we can speak French. Oh. And it's what I love about Charlie. I love everything about Charlie. Yeah. And she's the one who recognizes where they are. Well, we're right here where the ship crashed. Remember, we rode the Rhodosaur or whatever to the
what is it?
The Velociraptor, whatever it was, the pterosaur or whatever, but off to the Pas de Calais, right? Like it was
Vortisaur. There it is. I found it.
Vortisaur. Mm-hmm. To the Pas de Calais. It's just she's so invested in every story. She's completely in every story, and she's not there just to ask the Doctor questions.
Oh, no.
And it's the best part about Charlie.
It's that modern companion thing that you go from Ace to Evelyn to Charlie to Rose. Mm-hmm. And I put Evelyn in there because she's a modern companion.
She absolutely is, because she's equal, right? She's the equal too.
It's nice to see the chemistry between her and Paul McGann.
Oh, he's brilliant in it.
Oh, he's so good.
And he has this little stammer that he does, and he's got all of these great little vocal flourishes.
Yeah.
And they're perfect. I think if I had to just take a single Doctor voice with me.
An audio version? Just a single audio version?
Just to hear.
Okay.
If I've been listening to these Desert Island discs, right? And if I had to go off onto a desert island and only take one version of the Doctor with me, particularly if I could only hear it, right? His is so comforting and so I think it spans generations, right? Like, I think there's something about 1 and 3 and 4 and 7 and 9 that are of their moment, right? Maybe I could take one out of it, but there's something to me about McGann's voice that lifts me and takes me specifically to a comfort zone.
Yeah, I
mean,
get, I really get what you're saying, because I'm that way. With him and Sixie are my audio doctors. And what I liked is I just finished Stranded a couple weeks ago. And I can't wait for you to listen to that set. You're really going to love those 4 box sets, because it's a great take and a new way of setting stories. It's a setting more than anything. But how he went from Stranded back to his first version. And it's like when you listen to Colin Baker, you get Colin pre-trial, post-trial, pre-regeneration. And you can tell by listening where you are in his history. And that Paul McGann went from Stranded, which is pretty deep and heavy and high science fiction, back to the early days, where it's just pretty much straight adventure. And pre-Neverland, where we're about to go into, where they try to make Eighth Doctor goes to a different, less than straight adventure. Yeah. To concept. Yeah. So he goes all the way back to that. You know, if this had come out before we had gotten into what they call the second season, I would have put it there, because that's where this belongs. This belongs at the head of the season. Yeah. And when I'm doing my great rewatch, I use Eighth Doctor audios as my rewatch. You know, Mary Shelley technically should go before Charlie. Yeah. They make a reference that he had traveled. He says that, yeah. But I think that is going to be a set that the three, you, me, and, we'll do a runcible, and you, me, and Jeff will all talk about it, because we all because we all love it. Yeah. I think, it's great stuff. But this one, I liked it. I thought the comedy, the pacing, I would kind of had, I create the set in my brain when I listen to these things, and it was very much Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, because I like the model work in that movie. It is very, it's got some beautiful model work going on. And I liked every little bit about the humor. I like how they do the division. It's just 2 episodes, isn't it? Just one step, they do the cliffhanger. They have a cliffhanger. I like Cagliostro, who's also the villain, who's also the voice of Guy. And I could see the robots, the mummy. There's something about, I like the Brendan Fraser mummy movies, the Jim Johnson movies. They're exactly this. It's an adventure yarn.
It's an adventure story.
Yeah, period. It is comedic. It is, the first 2 are well paced. They're entertaining. I've watched them 20 years after they're made. They hold up because they're not trying to be something they're not. Right. And that's what this is. I'm not going to try to make it angsty. There's a thing about the quicksand. The cliche about the quicksand, and the great punchline is like, oh no, quicksand really doesn't happen that often. He's just stuck in the mud. They leave him there. Yeah. Because remember when you were a kid, weren't you terrified of stepping in quicksand from all the bad movies?
Yeah, because all the movies, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that often. It's very rare. But and the comic timing, I mean, that the of a gorilla, can be a punchline. I would have loved it if Geese stuck around and traveled with them. I think it would be, what? And the Eighth Doctor in other formats has had odd companions. In the comic strip, he had an emotional Cyberman in the comic strip in Doctor Who magazine called Croton, and he had a Cyberman as a companion. There was a strip, a comic strip in, I forget what magazine, it might have been in Radio Times, early on, where he traveled with a girl named Susie and her Ice Warrior boyfriend. So it kind of makes sense for McGann to have, an intelligent gorilla as a companion.
Well, this is played by John Banks, who is got one of the longest big fish.
Oh my God! Right? I just opened it up a second ago and went.
Yeah, it's Cagliostro. He plays that, but he also plays the gorilla, and so he's brilliant in it. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and nominate the next Big Finish box set to be the Doctor and Guy.
Yeah, me and Jeff were joking about it after we both listened to it. We were messaging. I said, "Have you listened to it yet?" I said, "Oh my God, Guy."
Yeah.
I said, Guy was the first thing.
Yeah.
And it's, when you get to the other three stories in this fic, there is a level of playfulness in the entire box set that the name, The Further Adventuress, that whole thing is that it is, you are reading like a late 19th century, earliest 20th century, or maybe like closer to Burroughs, in English, like where you're saying that type of literature, that all the stories are kind of like that.
Yeah, it's very intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It was like, because they don't know if they're going to do it again. It was kind of in the interviews I got from listening to that this isn't going to be a running series.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted to do, because Charlie's story's been told.
Yes.
Charlie's story's been told.
Agreed, but they want to hang out with India Fisher. And
it was an anniversary. Here's an excuse.
Yeah.
And Big Finish is making some changes. They don't do the monthly range anymore. They do small box sets with 3 stories. And they have a theme. It's not an arc. It's a theme. Me and Jeff in the last Runcible Report we jumped ahead. We were going to talk about Philip Chincliffe, but we both listened to the brand new box set, Doctor Who: The Outlaws, which the new First Doctor, Stephen Noonan, and Dodo, by Lauren Cornelius. She's already appeared in another First Doctor story, but with Peter Purves doing the voice. But that set, The Outlaws, me and Jeff had to gush because Nick Briggs is saying we wanted to, if it was a magazine or a comic, they would start over at number 1. We wanted to reimagine our First Doctor range and our Second Doctor range by bringing in Stephen Noonan for First Doctor and Michael Troughton for the Second Doctor, because we want to go in a different way. And I like all the First Doctor stuff I listen to. I like it when Peter Purves plays them in the First Doctor Adventures. I like David Bradley and his team, but they're different. But Outlaw and the Miniaturists are probably two of the... they're really good. If I have to think, they would be in my top 10 of Doctor Who stuff I've listened to from Big Finish. His performance is his, and as I put it in that, is instead of... Like, if I'm an actor and I'm going to play Richard Nixon, was the example we used, I'm going to study Richard Nixon. I'm going to listen and watch everything I can see of him so I can get an idea of the man. Body posture, accent, the meter to their speech. Nixon has a very, you know what I mean? And that's what basically Noonan does in that by watching William Hartnell. He's playing, he's not trying to mimic William Hartnell. He's trying to portray the First Doctor as if he was real, and the William Hartnell version is him. So he has they wrote Billy Flubbs into the script. It's beautiful. The woman who played Dodo's an engaging character because she's written well, because she's only written well like twice in the original, But it was neat, and I think this is kind of what this is them just going, they're not going to do any Paul McGann 4 box sets series anymore. They're going to do just a single box set with several episodes in it. Several stories in it. So I think this is their test drive of it, and it's a whopping success. So it's nice, and maybe they go back and do some more Mary Shelley. That would be neat.
I'd love it.
I would love it too. I'd give them another companion. They kind of in Stranded. I thought they were going to write certain people out because like Liv has been around for a long time now. She probably has more adventures than any other. She definitely has more adventures than any other Eighth Doctor companion. So I still, we've got that. We've got Helen. Maybe they do bring back one of the women who played Molly. So, but this one is great. I'm looking forward to the second one, Eclipse, for you to listen to it in about 5 months. I told Jeff what we're doing. He goes, "Oh, so about 2 years." I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much." Especially when we add Jodie back into the mix. Was there anything else about this that really kicked? How was the history of it? I mean, I knew I didn't realize that Napoleon had been reburied.
Yeah, no, they brought him back, and the most interesting thing for me about the history was that they justified this with the finding of the mummies with his Egypt campaign, and that Egypt campaign is 1798. It's part and parcel of his rise to power. And he was, I believe, when he left for that, he was still just a general. Maybe part of the triumvirate. The dates are.
I think it's right after he got back, he became part of the triumvirate.
Yes,
I think he
exactly.
was in Italy. He had come out of Cairo in Egypt, and he was on his way back through Italy.
But he, that's a fascinating campaign because part of his idea was scientific study. Yeah. And he brought scientists with him, and he founded what we now know as Egyptology, right? And I mean, it's a crazy colonial sort of idea, right? Like we would now say, well, shouldn't that be left to the people of Egypt? But wasn't the mindset at the beginning of the 19th century. And he brought historians and scientists, and and they did everything from cataloging native species of birds, right? They found the Rosetta Stone, right? Like,
is that? Okay.
And so, like, they literally uncovered so much. And what is fascinating about it is that when it was all over, when they lost it, they won they kind of won the land war, but lost the naval war. And the Battle of the Nile was there. And so after they lost, and he went home and declared it a triumph in the most egregious PR campaign ever. He lost, and the rules of war are that booty goes to the winner. And so all of these discoveries were given to the English, and the scientists went with the discoveries, and Napoleon gave it his blessing because the science was important, and it's like I said, it's our understanding of it now is what gross, superior thinking on the behalf of these peoples that these people are heathens and they don't know what to do with their own history, and we're going to catalog it, and we're going to do it, and we're going to. Right. It's the same way that I've seen the frieze on the Parthenon because I've been to the British Museum. Never been to Greece, right? But you see more marbles, but they're preserved, right? And from a historian's perspective, it's how do we feel about this? No, I think we have to condemn it as behavior, but be glad for some of the results because it did advance our understanding.
But let me ask you this, because I know this not from my history of knowledge isn't that great. This is the beginning of this kind of scientific age, isn't it?
Yeah,
this type of large scientific, him bringing the scientists, like you said, that was new, to bring a whole group of scientists to an area to study.
Nobody had ever done that.
That big a study, yet.
No, nobody had ever brought along scientists in order to catalog what was happening in the area. He had a fascination with the area, and that he wanted to increase knowledge is one of the great things about Napoleon, right? Like, no, this is not something that had been done before. And he was, right? I think when we think about the Enlightenment, right? When we think about the Enlightenment and we think about hold on, I've got terrible
dog noise.
Okay. When we think about the Enlightenment, when we think about the increase in the desire for more scientific knowledge, it's an 18th century, right? It's the 1700s. It's Isaac Newton, right? It's sort of the start of all of that in Western Europe, and like, that's the whole of the 18th century is the Enlightenment. And this is Napoleon carrying it into the colonial era, right? The colonizing of Africa and everything. But it's definitely an Enlightenment-driven idea. You would not have seen somebody else do that. Well, for example, when they came to the New World, right? That wasn't the goal. No, it's a fantastic. It's an incredible thing that Napoleon did. It's much like his Code Napoleon, right? Like that he rewrote the laws because the idea of common law being this amorphous, never fully written down thing bothered him, and so he wanted to have it much more linear and scientific. So he's a fascinating character, and he's everything that's wrong that's with colonialism is part of it, and everything that's good about colonialism is part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like
he's a poster child to that duality of that whole thing.
Yes, yeah, because there was great good. He's always referred to as an enlightened despot, right? Like he brought good things, right? Much like Rome brought water and heated floors, and right, like there's good that can come from a lot of these things, and he's one of them. The Rosetta Stone is a moment in my life of great importance that I was, for whatever reason, I hadn't gotten to that page in our encyclopedia. I don't know. I didn't know what it was before I was standing in front of it at the British Museum. I'd never heard of it. And so the concept of it and the visual of it all being there in one moment is just this lightning strike for me, and I really want to go back and see it as an adult, because it was really meaningful. It was really meaningful to me, and now apparently you can touch it because whatever it's made out of, you can't, the oil of human skin can't damage it, so they let you touch it.
Wow.
So at least I heard that on a podcast. So
that would be cool. I've seen it. I forgot I had to have heard that it was that when it was discovered. I just, it's such a major scientific discovery or rediscovery.
Right.
Rediscovery. It was just lost.
Right.
Because civilizations fall and you build new ones on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it got buried.
It was eventually, it was used in building material.
Oh yeah, that's it. It had been reclaimed, right?
Yeah. And it's the first ancient Egyptian bilingual text, and it's essentially sort of trilingual because of
what's on it? Sanskrit, hieroglyphics, and what else?
No. It's 3 versions of a decree, and the top and middle text are ancient Egyptian. One is a hieroglyphic sort of text, and then demotic, and the bottom is ancient Greek. So it really just gives us the key to it really just allows us to decrypt ancient Egyptian. Demotic and hieroglyphic are close relatives of each other, I guess, is what you would say.
Does ancient Egyptian have an alphabet, or is it still characters?
Well, the hieroglyphic is character based. Mm-hmm. Demotic is it's a form of writing. It's a script. It's a script.
Okay. All right.
So.
All right. So I'm glad you liked this and it was entertaining to you, because it's these sets are meant to be kind of listened to straight through.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm liking this exercise of us doing them as seeing them as individual episodes, as we would in the TV. I mean, in Modern Who, you are watching an arc. Depending on how heavy-handed the arc is, depends on who's running it and what their plan for that year is. It's all over the place because, first year at Chibnall, there's no arc.
Yeah.
And second one, there's an arc, but there's a lot of fun in the middle. This past season is a serial, you know. So when we're, and I thought there was going to be an arc with the specials, the Christmas, the Easter holiday special, and then Centennial. But I don't think it's planned that way because they've decided to put Eve of the Daleks and Legend of the Sea Devils in one Blu-ray set and the Centenary in its own, kind of like they did with the 50th anniversary. And then the first stuff we're seeing for 2023 is a 60th anniversary, if the rumors are going to true. I don't know if the 14th Doctor era is probably starting with the 60th anniversary show. And if that's the beginning of a season or a special, and then the season comes right after it, I think that's a big thing to write. I don't know if it's 50th anniversary is a big deal. 60th is a deal. I don't think it's a big deal. Every 10 years, they have older fans go, every 10 years you should. No, don't worry about it. Don't force the writers into writing spectacle every 5 to 10 years, depending on what you think is, The centenary of the BBC is a huge deal, so let's see how that. Are they just going to do a big deal Doctor Who story, or are they going to kind of touch on the, what makes the BBC unique? And the BBC is unique. It is. People are trying to kill it by 1,000 cuts. And moving Doctor Who production over to a independent contractor is part of that. I think hiring Bad Wolf is not a bad idea because I've watched some of their Dark Materials. I've liked it. They are the producers of Sex Education. They are the producers of It's a Sin. Time After Time, is that what it? Year After Year. So they and it's Jane Tranter and Julie Gardner. And Philip Collinson, who was the day-to-day showrunner, producer with Russell, is back for this series too. It is the 2005 team is back together. And they did a really good job, and they did a lot of stuff outside of Doctor Who on top of it, connected to Doctor Who, which is what some people have been complaining about, that there wasn't as much marketing and promotion, but that's not Chibnall's thing. And right. It's not Moffat's thing, because Moffat didn't stop doing other projects.
Right.
He was like, no, I have my own company, and I have stuff. I've got stuff. I have obligations to that company that I have to maintain, and I also want to do Sherlock. And the Time Traveler's Wife that's coming out on HBO, that's his. I will watch that one. It's got Rose.
Well, it's not his original work, right?
Yeah, but it's his show. It's his show. No, it's based on the novel.
He's running the show. It's based on a novel, right?
So, and I'll give it a try. I think it's him going, I'm going to get to do what I would have really liked to have done, which is high-end concept science fiction.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. So I think we're looking to some good Doctor Who, and I thought this was good Doctor Who. I think Big Finish is doing I'm jumping around more because I'm trying to get to the newer stuff, because all the stuff they've kind of tweaked, like this and the First Doctor and the Second Doctor, I'm really enjoying it. There's a character I love called the 11, and they are doing a Tom Baker set where it's him, Leela, and the 9. So they've cast someone to play the 9. It's not Mark Bonner. I did watch a movie last night called Operation Mincemeat. It's about the thing in the Second World War. They floated a dead body onto the beach of Spain with fake documents to convince the Germans that they were going to invade Greece and not Sicily.
Right. No, that's a famous book and old movie.
No, this is a brand new one that's on Netflix.
It's an old movie.
No, with Colin Firth.
No, there's like a 40s movie about it.
I know. That's not the one I watched. I watched the one that came out this year.
I'm just trying to remember the name of the old movie.
Oh, okay. But this one was really good, and Mark Bonner plays a truck driver. He has a great little part in it. It had a couple Doctor Who people, but it's Colin Firth. I cannot remember the other And Harriet from Prime Minister Harriet. She was in it. She had a big part.
Penelope Wilton.
Yeah, she was in it. It's great. It was a really good movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't. And the detail they go into to fake it is very cool.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time talking about the forensics of folding things. Oh, and someone plays Ian Fleming in it.
Right.
It's great. It was really good.
I read the book recently. I read a book all about this, and
that may be where the source material for this movie is.
Yeah.
Because it's a drama, but they try to be as historically accurate as you can be.
Right.
And
the whole idea
people.
is that this was a spy, the spy who fell to Earth. Was that the name of it?
That might have been it, even though in real life he came out of a torpedo.
No.
I mean, they threw him. No, they threw him overboard from a submarine.
Yeah.
Not a torpedo. Because they were afraid if they had tried the drop thing before, but the bodies get. They don't do well when they hit the ground. So they wanted an intact body. But it goes into the thing about, that they found an unclaimed body, and then they're days from starting it, and the sister shows up. And they won't give the body back.
Operation Mincemeat was the name of the, it was the name of the plan. Mission. Yeah, their whole plan was that, and like they had to go through all of this great stuff about you had to find a body who had died of something that couldn't be traced, right? Like it had to look like
drowning.
It was great.
Yeah, I think you'd like this movie. It's a really well-made movie, and there's good drama in it, like good character interaction, and then there's the pieces that you and me like in these movies. How did they do it? Mm-hmm. And they spend a lot of time on how they did it.
Right.
And it's a great cast. Russell Beale plays Churchill.
Operation Mincemeat was the name of the Ben McIntyre book that I read.
How new is that book? Several
2010.
Then okay. I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhat.
McIntyre has written a lot of books about the spying in World War II.
Yeah, there was a little tag at the end of this where they said what happened to the real people. The main two guys.
Michael Glendower,
Yeah, and they also said it is still considered one of the great spy misinformation things in the history of spying to this day, because it worked. Not exactly to plan, but it had the right result. Because they get to the point to where they're waiting as the right person picked up the body, and they have their attachés trying to guide it toward them, and they're like, "Oh my God, how much more do I have to do?" And how it was really good. The guy that played, remember that the Adventures of Young Sherlock Holmes? Mm-hmm. The guy that played Sherlock Holmes plays the military
tall guy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he plays the military attaché in Spain at the British Embassy. Kind of making sure that the Nazi spies get it.
Yeah. Seriously? Thank you. The 56 movie was The Man Who Never Was.
I've seen that, I think.
A Clifton Webb movie.
I've seen it. I don't remember it, but I've probably seen it. Because, when we were growing up, Channel 5 showed a lot of black and white movies.
Yeah.
And
Gloria Graham, who plays the girl the blonde who's in love with the Jimmy Stewart character in It's a Wonderful Life. She's in it, right? Like there's a great. It's a great movie, but it was an even better book. And if this was a movie about that book, I'll watch it.
I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, it's well made and it's dry, and they insert drama because there's some drama going on with the people. And I'm going to go through. Mark Gatiss is in it.
Yeah.
He plays the head the guy in charge's brother, who is a was in the Socialist Party for like a half minute. Uh-huh. And Jason Isaacs plays the head of naval intelligence or whatever, who doesn't like their plan, and he pits the two guys running it against each other. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's real, and that's all in the background, but it's about this mission.
Yeah.
So it was fun because I just liked it. It's a part of history I didn't. I mean, I knew the event,
Right.
but I didn't know it. But I would recommend it, people. If you like that kind of thing, watch it. It's called Operation Mincemeat, and it's on Netflix here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming it's on Netflix in other places. So next week, folks, we are back with, and I didn't realize it until I was talking to Jeff, the final two-parter of Christopher Eccleston. We are Bad Wolf and the End of the World, or whatever the titles of it are. It's been a while since I've watched them, which will be neat to watch. It's been a long time since I've watched them. So that is what's coming up next for us on that. And then I'm not sure what the Tenet one is, but let's focus on one at a time. Mm-hmm. But you can... my recommendation this week would be watch Operation Mincemeat. I watched it last night. I enjoyed it a great deal. Vix, you have anything that you're doing that you'd like to plug?
No, I'm outside all the time.
Yeah, I'm outside a lot more.
That time of year.
Yeah. Oh, I love my balcony. Sit out there and we'll take the hound dog to burn her energy up out on walks. So she's getting one of those later today after my massage. So, folks, you can find us at Gallifrey's MW Pod or at Runcible Report on Twitter, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.